Okay, so we don't know where we are going, but we will go. Well, we've traveled slightly more than 10 years. It was November '98 that Hong Kong launched its first IT in education policy. And I think it was a very momentous time in Hong Kong, and I think we have achieved a lot. So what I'm going to talk about is, in fact, to draw on the research that we have done over the past 10 years. We started with, it was very lucky that we were able to be part of the second IT in education study, which is an international study conducted under the IEA. And even though the first policy did not mention research, it was very good that the Quality Education Fund supported this study. And so we were able to get some baseline data. The data was in fact collected right at the moment when we launched the first policy. And we were also able to do some local extensions. So we were able to collect survey data as well as case study data from that. And then we also have been part of the CITE. Well, we had in the middle the CITE module 2, which is in-depth case studies. But today I'm mainly drawing on survey data because that's easier to compare. And then in 2006, we collected data again from 22 systems on pedagogy ICT use, which is a survey of teachers, principals, and technology coordinators. So, and then we were also able to take advantage of some local studies, and one of the studies that we will be drawing on is the one that we were commissioned by the EDB to do and the report was done in, I think the data was collected earlier in 2007, and the report was submitted December 2007, which is on evaluating the information literacy outcomes of students. So what have students learned? So how do we compare? So basically, I think we need to have a framework to consider, you know, what's the role of technology in education and what are the kinds of factors. So I think basically we can say that there are macro level forces, and Allan was giving a very good description of the macro system forces. And then of course there are meso level, that means school level, and also classroom level forces. And these would influence what happens in the classroom. So the big orange circle, I would call it a pedagogical practice, what happens in classrooms. But what happens in classrooms, I would like to use a kind of a curriculum model. So whenever a teacher does anything in the classroom, he or she should have some curriculum goal in mind. And those goals are also influenced by the system level forces. And then inside the classroom, we always have teachers and students, but with technology there, that their interaction, I'm sorry the arrow is too thin, so you cannot see the arrow between the three, but their interactions and also they may be playing different roles in different pedagogical situations. And then we have the learning outcome. So and I think, you know, one context that I would like to highlight beyond the three policy documents that Allan mentioned is in fact, to me, a very important document that was launched in the year 2000. That was the education reform. I remember in early 1998, before our center was established, I and Allan and a few colleagues have been involved in a policy study, which we submitted to the government in response to their consultation document for the first policy. And one very strong comment we made was, the consultation document did not have a vision. It did not have a vision for IT in education. So, and so by the year 2000, when the curriculum reform was launched, it gave us a goal, a vision. for why ICT needs to be implemented. And so throughout the rest of this sort of report, I think one concept we have been using when we were looking at ICT implementation is the concept of pedagogical orientation. And you may use a very simplistic, I want to use a very simple term so that it's easier to talk about. I mean, one is traditional, meaning more teacher-centered approach. And then, so it's more a delivery approach. And then we also have a term called lifelong learning, meaning more collaborative, inquiry-oriented. And then another approach, which could be together, would be connectedness. So wanting to reach out, wanting to make sure that learning doesn't only happen within the classroom, but also with people outside of the classroom, within Hong Kong and outside of Hong Kong. So traditional lifelong learning and connectedness. And then there are different actors and factors at the policy, at the school level, and also at the classroom level. And then I'm going to talk about what we have found in terms of changes that has happened at these different levels. So what are the changes that's happened at the school level? First of all, infrastructure. The black dots are data points for 1998, and the open circles are the data points for 2006. Now, of course, we are all very interested in the mean. So on the horizontal axis is the mean. But I think it's also very, very important for us to consider the spread, the differences between schools. Because I think, especially if we're looking at it from a policy perspective, then of course we want the mean to move up. But, well, we all know the term digital divide. We want everybody to move up, right? So the spread is important. So on the vertical axis is the standard deviation. And then I'm going to show you how these have changed. So the blue arrows here, I'm sorry that the text doesn't show up very clearly, but these are the location of computers. And you can see that, well, only one arrow is going down. That arrow is computer rooms. So now, from in 98, about 80-something% of the schools have, these are secondary schools, have computer rooms. Now nearly 100%. So the standard deviation, the change is clearly towards less difference. But then all the others are basically up. So that means the difference between schools are getting bigger. Okay? And then so things like other computer, say other rooms other than the computer room having special rooms having computers, and then, so what is the biggest difference? Say here, this is some classrooms have computers. And then this one is most classrooms have computers. So whether we have distributed computers other than the computer room or special rooms, there's a big difference across schools. The difference is getting